G'day listeners, today we're joined by Andrew Andreou. He's from the Omni Party. We're going to chat about, well, I guess everything with that the Omni Party stands for.
So didn't bother me.
Yes, well hopefully. I mean, he's still relevant to Australian politics, isn't he? Anyway, Andrew, I'm excited. Let's get going. G'day listeners, welcome to My First Party, the podcast where we meet people at the grassroots of politics. My name's Owen Miller, I'm a candidate for the Fusion Party. With us as usual, the Casanova of Sparta Place, Mr. Peter Gardiotis. Is that name not accurate? No, the women around Brunswick, they love Peter. Anyway, so Andrew, tell us more about how the Omni Party got started, how you got started.
Well, I remember meeting you, of course, during the Aston by-election, and I see this fellow with the coloured hair, and I was saying, who's this fellow? And then and I realised you were a candidate at the time. And then we got into a very long, at times heated conversation, but it was very
mostly
robust,
philosophical
conversation, and I took a liking to you. So when I got your call, at the time we was forming the Omni Party, but it was too soon to put something like that into place, into the Australian environment. I don't think, the Australian public politically were prepared for, such a concept.
It was more the embryonic party at that stage.
Yes, it might have been, yes.
Well, yeah, I guess like the Australian public, they are changing slowly away from the, two parties and they're the only options, aren't they? I mean, would you relate very much to the Teals, for instance?
Look, the Teals set out as being very promising, especially for the women, and a lot of the people that were disillusioned with the Liberal Party.
That's fair.
And now there's some sort of disenchantment that I'm sort of registering inside about the Teals Party. So we want to give that. There's a void there.
Inside the Teals.
There's a void inside the Australian political system for a party that's offering something that's, reaching out to everyone. So, the easiest thing is to be divisive and me say, or you're a lefty or you're a bloody right-winger or whatever. But that's not the way forward. That's not the way forward.
So where is your political leaning, if there was such a thing? Well, I appreciate you saying that you're not.
Well, our policy is to listen and to absorb. Okay. Absorb everything, sit on it. We're a home for ideas. They might be temporary home, of course. It might be a temporary home. But we're the home for ideas. Now, as soon as I start arguing with you and I said, that's rubbish, all of a sudden you've dismissed an idea. Now, that idea could have the pollination of something brilliant, but I've shut you down. And that's unfortunately what happens.
Well, if I say that, because we've had a few guests on, and I remember when we had, I think it was one of the Libertarians, I'm not sure, one of the three.
Sounds like Rachel.
No. I said, I don't remember. Don't put words in my mouth. Where a lot of people that have been on, and even with our Labor friend from the council, Mr. Lambros, where and the questions I put to him is to say, how much of yourself do you give up when you join a party? Because you can't exactly, and by default, you're actually then advocating to the public what you believe, your own orthodoxies. But if I'm hearing what you're saying, Andrew, that what you're saying is that you're absorbing rather than, I guess, professing.
Well, eventually there'll be professing, but there's no point shutting all the ideas out and then just getting on your soapbox, so it may be called, and saying things that haven't been tested. We need to look at all these ideas and say, yeah, this one's good, this one's from the left, this one's from the right. We can make something that works practically. So there's no point just, being there and just yelling and like a madman,
There's something that you said before, which is sort of like, it's germinating in my mind, sort of leverage off your analogy. So even the fact that, we're still having the discourse about what's left or right and what's being absorbed, even they are sort of dichotomies that's been pushed on us over time. So I think what I'm not hearing from anyone is what are the actual people wanting, and then who's representing that voice? Because isn't that really what representation should be, rather than, here am I, and even now the questions we ask, and we've ever made this point on these podcasts, is that these politicians have been corrupted. So they don't actually represent the people. We have to then determine who's follow the money and who do they represent, whether it's Pauline flying on Gina's plane, who does Barnaby take his money from?
I totally agree with that. If you make enough noise, people will be distracted and people will say, oh, you're a lefty, you're right, as we spoke. We're the space in between, the oxygen. So without oxygen, no one can breathe and everyone's shut down to what's going on.
You're saying you help the public have like a useful debate, a useful discussion.
Well, that's what we try to set out. Whether we achieve it is a different thing, but that's what our motto. And you talked about Lambros as well, and I noticed this is called Sparta Place.
Nearby,
and I think Lambros initiated that statue of Leonidas.
King Leonidas,
Yeah, because I'm very into Thucydides, ancient Greece, one of the great generals and historians of around 460 BC, and a lot of his, philosophies are very, very good.
He was a general. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Spartan and in the
Peloponnesian
Peloponnesian
Wars, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of philosophies to be.
It could be one of your quotes for
one of the
tonight.
quotes. We love the quotes from philosophers.
He's the father of political realism, as they say, and before that. Before that time, people talked about the gods and how the gods influence us. He was actually very practical. So we want to be practical. We want to get away from this distraction and the noise. And look, people are cynical. Of course they're cynical. You say, what are you? You're going to be another party that's there for 5 minutes and gone. Yeah. We don't want that.
I think actually...
And you're in the... was it the
fusion?
fission?
Yeah.
See, when I first met you, I thought he was in the fission party. And I said, oh, you're in the...
Maybe that's why we didn't get along better.
Yes, I think we had that... controversy when we were talking about nuclear power, and you said no, settle. It's fusion, not fission. Okay.
I think you and I had a similar discussion when we first met.
So I apologise if I was a little bit.
The voters in Brunswick, they don't like any sort of nuclear power either. But well, actually thinking about the Peloponnesian Wars, I think it was when Chad was on Chad Beast when we were talking about the paid protests. Was it? And anyway, no, he was talking about the voter reform. Sorry, Chad.
He just entrapped me into thinking I knew what you were talking about.
Well, it was with one of the Americans. We were definitely chatting about the Peloponnesian Wars and how the comparison can be made. We were comparing it with the US and Venezuela. But I guess, the example still holds somewhat with the US and Iran.
Yes.
I think the quote from Thucydides was something along the lines of, what's morally good is only... sort of strength. It's like only that's not the question that actually runs the world. Basically, correct. Instead, it's the poor accept whatever fate they must.
That's right.
The good do what they can.
That's I'll try to find the exact quote. It's a. But that's spot on. The problem is we look at what's happening now. If you go back to history, a lot of your answers are there. And unfortunately, one of the great tragedies. Because I've had, Alexandria, the Alexandria Library.
Yes.
That was basically the internet of the
I guess so.
World, and it got burned down.
But we got Christianity instead.
Yeah.
Oh, is that are they like
yes.
Well, basically, 5% of ideas. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but got plundered a few times, especially badly by the under the Turkish Empire. They burnt it down. So we only have 5 to 10% of the knowledge of that could have been around. It's like getting the internet now and wiping out 90% of it. But it'll happen over a few years.
That's not really the internet. Like, where would we find our porn? Well, there'll be two sites on the internet.
Where would viewers find My First Party?
Yeah, good. Well, the main site would be www.com. Where's porn?
Well, that did exist in ancient Rome. If you see some of the old amphoras and some of the plates there was, you could make reference to some of the
interesting
explicit sort of paintings they had.
So I was going to ask a question. So I remember we had it was Aussie, the local independent ex-Labor, I guess, and he was. I sort of got a glean understanding of, the life of a politician or and aspirational ones. Like he was saying how much people in council earned, and
that's right.
unless they're mayors, that's obviously the prime, cut position. So, and I know you went obviously to a lot of expense in your campaigns,
Yeah,
your two
yeah.
campaigns. How do you do it? How does the Omni Party fund itself? Because obviously we know donations to Labor, Liberals, etc. So, do you want to tell the listeners? how
Yes,
you...
well, everything happened with, I didn't have the idea at the start, but I'll just give you my background. I was born here in Sunshine in Melbourne. Then my parents moved back to Cyprus. We came from Cyprus.
that old chestnut.
Yeah. And then what happened was my parents went back because my mother's brother had a confectionery shop. They sold up everything. They went there and basically it didn't go well. My uncle basically had my father working as a slave when he thought he was going to be a partner.
Yeah, wow.
So we ended up coming back. And then I did go back to Cyprus probably about 15 years ago, and I started a business. In the end, basically, I wanted to fund a party because I saw so many things wrong in the world, so many things that were compromised, and I thought maybe, we can make a difference because I spoke to a lot of my friends. My name's Andrew Andreou, and my friend Dimitriadis and Lazarus Lazaridis. I know you might laugh at that, but in Cyprus, these are common.
Well, and George Michael.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
And Cat Stevens.
yes. They were part Cypriots.
Oh, okay.
Cat Stevens was, I think his mother was
Swedish.
Swedish, yes. And that's where he got that calmness about. And George Michael's mother was, I think she might have been English. She
Yes.
might have been Jewish. I'm not sure. But
But you're
they
saying,
were
sorry,
Cypriots' fathers.
You bet.
this business helps fund your political endeavors.
Well, it helped funded it, and we offered some courses, basically online training courses.
oh, that's what your business did. Oh,
Yes, and we had some funding. We had a bit of help. We had to. I couldn't fund all these things, so I had some businessmen. Before you jump at me and said, "Oh, these people are corrupt" or whatever, we had some Belarusian investors.
okay.
We tapped into Minsk, and we provided leadership courses, management, strategic management. A lot of CEOs at the time were interested, and I think we did very well. So we raised a little bit of money there. And after a few years, about 5 years ago, I decided to come back. It's still going. It's called Cabana Bell International.
All right. So anyone can do it even from here.
Well, it's pared down a bit at the moment because AI and a few other things have sort of hampered or scaled back our business. But we did get enough money to land on our feet and start the Omni Party. And we've had the discussion when I met you in Aston, of course.
Yeah.
So you family, you went over there, came back, and your family.
My family came back here now. Both my parents, but I don't want to talk about my wife or anything else.
Oh, no, I wasn't
I'm
asking,
happy
but
to
that's
talk
fair.
about my family or my brothers and my parents. That's fine.
Okay.
But I think
I wasn't prying.
no, it's not nothing to do with Brian. I think a lot of the distractions happen is when the media or other people bring out the families and will say, "Oh, this lady, the wife had a speeding ticket," and it's a complete distraction.
You don't want to get Epstein, do they?
Yeah, well, that stuff is probably more serious than a speeding ticket, I would say. That was horrific, some of the stuff I've read.
In terms of spouses, so, sometimes they give glowing endorsements, like there was that quote, he's not a monster.
Oh, that's right.
Would your wife say the same about you, do you reckon, Andrew?
Oh, well,
Is he going to
at times she would say I am.
So now you would talk about your wife.
Yes.
So you are open to breaking that vow of silence.
Oh, yes, that's okay. That's okay. But to say...
Well done. It's good interrogation.
to say what she does or all this sort of stuff, but, she can, in domestic situations, people fly things at you. And you've got to be tough. You can't sort of collapse. And if you're in the political sphere, if you can't handle your wife screaming at you, that's what it is. And as someone said, have you ever apologized for something you didn't do?
Oh yeah, maybe back in school, maybe.
Well, then you were ready for marriage. Yeah, there you go.
If any
Yes.
guys are watching.
Well, it's not as bad as last week's quote. Have you seen Owen discuss
I
the
stand by
evolution of the small koala from the big koala?
That was, look, I don't want to say this to you, Owen, but I was appalled for a little bit.
What are your koala policies, by the way, Andrew?
So for the people who don't know, you did an interview and you talked about
The Koala Alliance, yeah.
the indigenous people being relocated.
They were getting land. They were going to be able to hunt koalas again. If that's
Hunt
their program,
koalas
yeah.
again. But the way you asked it was, I think you were trying to be controversial. I don't think you actually meant it, but it came out pretty,
Okay.
yeah.
You wouldn't eat a koala.
Well, if you got no food, what are you going to eat?
Yeah.
I think that was his point.
That was your point.
But-
But I think you could have said it in a different way.
Okay. So what are your thoughts about koalas, by the way? Should we have more habitat for them? Should we?
I thought you were going to say, should they be readily available in the supermarkets? No. Well, of course.
Of course, we should have more habitat.
Yeah, of course. Look, we're open to all ideas. That's one of it. That's something we absorb.
How do you then deal with conflicting ideas? Like, let's say, the Israel-Palestine issue matter, for instance.
Well, we like to park those, but look, with Israel-Palestine, that's something that's got a very long history and it's very complex. And as you can see, the way the media works here, I don't have to say too much about that. But some Israelis, some Jews have been much maligned. They've been much maligned by what's happening. And some Palestinians have been, there's been like 80,000 Palestinians being killed, but people still remember October the 7th, which was like 200.
Yeah.
I'm not going one side or the other. As I said, we just...
Are you talking about what the media has been putting out?
Well, it's not what the media's been putting out. It's what they've not been putting out.
Okay.
So as you were talking about, they would say Palestinians died, and as you were saying, the Israelis killed. So they use different...
Yeah.
things.
Oh, right. Okay.
We're
Like
saying-
Lebanon, South Lebanon, it's now
But
been
I have
terms.
one or two Israeli friends or Jewish friends. And one of them lived in Israel and has come back to Australia. So I'm not...
Are you concerned as a person within a group now because, you need to be careful about not being deemed, with any hate language?
Well, this is the whole thing. We talk about free speech, and as you know, and they have the cancel culture, and I was saying about the left having the cancel culture. So
Who was saying this, sorry?
basically, general. So what happens is the right will say there's a cancel culture there. So, for example, Hannah Gadsby, she was involved in this comedy festival that's on now, and I think Barry Humphrey said something about
Something
gender
about trans
change,
people,
about it's self-mutilation. That he's open to say anything. That's another idea we absorb and we park it. That's his opinion. Then they said, no, we cancel Barry Humphries.
Yeah. Dame Edna, for foreigners who don't know, yeah.
Yeah, Dame Edna, Barry Humphries. And he played a woman on stage for 40, 50 years.
Oh, I mean, playing a woman versus, getting the operation is a bit different.
It is different, but was it worth cancelling? Was it worth... And the same with the right. The right now, they have a Palestinian... In the Adelaide Festival we saw, there was a Palestinian author. She just got shut down. And it just resulted in a revolt of all the writers. All the writers basically cancelled that festival. So as soon as you shut down voices, you're going to have dissent, or you're going to have people that are just... So what's the point of saying it's free speech, but it's free here, but not here, and not here? So that's what the Omni Party is trying to... We're trying to say, come and tell us. Come here and tell us we're open.
So if, I guess conversely then, and
Yes.
logically, if the people said, you know what, why does someone think of the children? This is what we actually want. We want no one to swear. We want to go back to quote unquote traditional values, where people were in the closet, what you did in your own bedroom. Let's say that's the overriding voice of the people. And you aggregate everyone's feedback, and then the Omni Party will say, well, you know what, we've listened to the people, and this is what the overall sentiment is. This is what we're going with. That is ultimately, that could be the logical conclusion of the Omni Party's policy.
Well, swearing, see, there's a difference between swearing and...
Oh, no, I'm not saying that's where it'll go, but I'm
Yes.
saying if that is the overall consensus of, let's say, a representatives area, then that could be, well, where the...
I understand. We have a saying in Australia where someone will call you, how are you, you fat C? But it's a term of endearment. It's not meant to, but when
In
people...
context.
In context, when people start using it as antagonism or trying to make the other person angry, then I have some sort of misgivings about the use of that. So swearing's okay. When it's used to start problems, again,
But
that's
again,
another distraction.
without going down that
Yes.
particular rabbit hole, what I'm talking about is the principle of my point that irrespective of where the community or the representatives area lands,
Yes.
that's where the Omni Party will say, yep, this is what we've reached, irrespective of whether it's swearing or not.
That's exactly right.
Correct.
That's
what I've understood.
You've understood the Omni Party. Spot on. That is spot on.
All right.
We sit there, we absorb the ideas, and we're the oxygen that feeds it. Because if you don't have that oxygen, people die inside, and then they become angry.
I have no issue with what you're saying, and I think it is probably the only true form of democracy, right? How do you then allow people to formulate a collective idea when right now, more than any time ever, everyone's so, that oxygen that you're saying, they're all suffocating within their own echo chambers.
Correct.
Because, we've got our phones, we've got our own opinions that we just like others feeding our orthodoxy. Whether it's a religious group, whether it's a right group, whether it's a left group, that we're being told, this is who you are, this is what you need to fit into. And if you don't agree with any of that, well, you think of the borders, because guess what? Those other brown, yellow, whatever people are coming to take your kids anyway.
Eat the koalas.
Eat the koalas, the next batch.
Look, that's interesting. See, do we talk about globalization? Do we talk about... So people are going to have people that are always going to be threatened by people that are smarter than them or people that will make it. So I've got a friend who says to me, I don't like all this migration to Victoria because I'm stuck in my car all day. Now, is he racist? I don't think so.
Sounds like when you had an issue with the policy that you're developing with our friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, please.
No, that's okay.
I mean, that doesn't sound racist.
That's an infrastructure issue that we need to address. So I'm happy for immigration people coming, but get the infrastructure right.
Yes.
Oh, but yeah, that's...
But what you're saying, your question was more of what? I'm sort of...
Well,
trying to get
my
head
question
around
goes
it.
back to the point about, at the moment, like as I said, I don't disagree with the principle and objective of what you're saying. And I think, as I said, I made the point that I think it's the only true form of democracy where anyone representing a group is representing them, not telling them this is who we are. Come join my political horse race, and the silks that I wear in this horse race. But how do you then get that community to take a breath, to then breathe collectively to say, you know what, this is what's in our collective interest, and therefore our representative needs to voice this. Because right now everyone is like, I've got a neighbour in the same area who's a MAGA fan, like he spouses
Australia.
in Australia. I've got others around me who have different views, others then are, reductive feminists, others are true feminists, others are right, left. So, and they've got us focusing on all these little orthodoxies instead of what's in our real interests. So how do you get people to breathe?
That is spot on. Now, those people, you cannot click your fingers and all of a sudden they're with you. That's never going to happen. That's just being completely foolish if you're going to think that's going to happen. But what you need to do is put some ideas out there in the undercurrent. So those people eventually will become, it's like the Epstein files. There's a theory now that's saying by putting out the Epstein files, people become immune to all the horrors.
Desensitized.
Well,
Desensitized. So there's the argument, and I think that's what's been happening.
Well,
Unfortunately,
I'd say, and I draw it, and I say
So,
that. Well,
I
I
agree.
always say, it's like Palestine, right? Like the minute you allow something like Palestine to exist in our world, our society right now, you're allowed to have whatever's going to happen in your own society. So it's no coincidence that in Australia, for instance, they've passed the hate legislation, or they're passing it in Sydney, in Queensland now. Even if you say from the river to the sea, you can get arrested. So, and they're bringing other, you got in Sydney, they're walking around with military guns, the police, right? Because there we have another Bondi issue, right? And all the other aspects. So we've allowed these things to happen overseas, and we turned a blind eye, and now we're also supporting the buy. We're not in the war, but we are.
Yeah, we're not even supporting US. So I don't know, for the foreigners listening, maybe you hadn't heard this news, but Australia is sending one of the electronic signals aircraft, with the big radar thing. It wasn't because the US asked, it was because the United Arab Emirates asked us to help them out.
So
we're sending.
So even our excuses aren't even worthy of our, not insulting our intelligence. We're saying we're going to be connected to the hip to any polished turd out there.
Even our Australian listeners,
Well-
did you ever think of the Emirates as a good mate of Australia?
I've got something to pull up with you two fellows. You understand it. You're intelligent. Most of the public are not going to understand any of this.
Oh, that's why we have the show.
Yeah. So you guys understand that this is not right.
Oh, but sorry, listeners, if you understand it as well, please leave a comment.
Yeah.
We love hearing
Yeah.
from our listeners.
No, but I didn't mean to insult, but the majority of Australians have got no idea. They're just, they look at what Murdoch says.
So you're right, because I interrupted you just as you were saying you need to filter stuff under the current, which is almost like saying,
It's almost subliminal.
there needs to be like a
Yes.
vanguard that starts the.
You can't do these things overnight unless you, mind control people or do something like the military
How you get
does.
them off the algorithms?
Yeah. So look, these things are not going to happen overnight, and we want to be that middle ground, that oxygen for years, and hopefully 50 years from now we could be in government. Who knows?
I guess,
Who knows?
just, in order to give that oxygen, you first got to cut off that current supply, almost put a choker hold on everyone for a little while and then release the proper oxygen. Because right now, everyone's just suffocating on whatever gas they're individually siphoning.
Well, there's a lot of things on social media, and look, I thank God for social media because there's a lot of ideas out there, and we have to be taking the ideas.
I'll take
Some of
that.
them are rubbish, right? Some of them are rubbish.
Well, I thought you were just saying we should accept all ideas, though.
No, I said some of them are rubbish. So you accept that idea, you look through it, but no.
No, is right. Sorry. Because, like the Albanese government has said, no, we've got to stop kids looking at social media because, of the rubbish. So again, let's assume there is rubbish out there, as I think you made a valid point. But again, we're restricting people's ability to discretionarily make choices to say, no, they can decide what's rubbish or not.
So you'll see some people take the Epstein files, for example, and they'll put a small reel about the Epstein files and basically decipher it in 60 seconds, and they'll have the document there, and you look at it and say, yep,
That's useful, isn't it?
that's useful. That's spot on. I'll say, yes, that's useful. But then other people will come up with something, and then you look at it and say, no, the amount of truth that is in this is being bent by your angle. The same with influencers when they say this product's the best product. Now, what's influencing that? Obviously, how much money they're going to make. So once you remove yourself from corruption, and I know it happens throughout politics in both, you're seeing with even, people talk about left and right and the Republicans and the Democrats. Clintons and the Clintons are as heavily involved in it as Trump. So you don't forget about the politics or your leanings. The ideas are there, the information's there. You actually make an assessment, you pull it out. That's what Omni Party is.
I wonder actually in terms of all these things in the media influencing people. What do you think as a thought experiment, like if Australia didn't speak English, for instance? I mean, don't we inherit so much of the US politics because, they're speaking English, the news can easily make its way here?
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
I mean, I wonder what language is probably, if we think of like the, French-speaking world, the Spanish-speaking world, like what do you reckon is like, I guess the most democratic, the most sort of like the best we could hope for?
Well, any minority with a language that's only accessible to a few thousand people, they're probably not going to have the influence, obviously, as movies, for example, Hollywood. That's why a lot of people say everyone's speak English or try to learn English. So in the 70s, people were saying you need to know French, or then later Japanese. But everywhere you go, we speak to people and assume they know English, which is, it's like a French person coming up to you or a Spanish start to speak to you.
It's like how they wrote the Bible in the first edition in Greek.
Oh, did they?
Yes, that's correct.
Not Latin. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was the language of the times back then.
Yeah, interesting. Are you religious, by the way, Andrew?
Look, I'm open to everything. I have attended church.
Temple?
Look, I have been to the temple. I've been also to the mosque. I've been to the temple with one of my Israeli friends, and I have been to the mosque.
Did you feel anything?
Well, I wasn't allowed to touch anyone there. No, just a joke there. No, just a joke. Sorry about that. Look, I could absorb what they believed. I could absorb their passion for what they believe. I still have to get around, being spiritual. Sometimes being spiritual is shutting yourself off from the world.
I think there is a bit of overlap in everything that you've said about religion being the ability to shut yourself off, but only in so much as from a meditation perspective.
Only. Not from a world, because
because if I finish this thought, because religion for me is absolutely the same and worse, because they embed it in children from a very young age, as in don't be curious, but believe these preordained barbaric, texts in many instances, which goes back to my point about not allowing people to breathe freely, but just follow this orthodoxy. And in this phase, I'm using that with a bit of pun as well. Because whilst we were talking there, I was sort of reflecting on something I said earlier about, Albanese government putting restrictions on kids to check the internet. And then you mentioned something which made me think about, well, maybe it's actually done a good thing too, because now these kids might have the opportunity. I mean, I'm sure they'll get around to looking at the internet anyway, and the Instagram, etc., through various means. But if they do pause for any moment, there's ability then for them to get back to what is innate, and that is to be curious, and maybe even look at some of your policies.
That is, again, that's spot on. I totally agree with that, because once when you're not in the driver's seat, you go to the destination that the driver takes you.
Okay? That's a good analogy.
Yeah. So when you're not able to drive, you're under 18, you're not able to drive.
Well, I think that applies to even adults if they're just following their, your MAGA, you're part of the group and you're not listening.
So the thing I got with MAGA is you have a lot of areas in the United States, and you I think you were telling me you lived in the United States for a period of time.
But Peter doesn't like me repeating it.
Oh,
but I lived there for 7 years.
Am I saying something?
No. Just every chance he gets, he reminds everyone that he lived in the United States.
We get many new viewers every
Tampa
episode.
Bay was in Tampa Bay.
The 2 years in Seattle and 5 years in New York. Yeah.
Okay. But say, and you're not familiar much with the Bible Belt or some of those
I mean, I've passed through, but yeah.
Okay, so I find it very curious why the Bible Belt, in inverted commas, is like Trump supporters, because he is the antithesis of
I guess so, yeah.
Their
breaking all the rules, yeah.
Their religion. So I find that difficult. So that's what I said
Have
to
you read the Bible?
Sorry, yeah, I've read the Bible. Yeah, as Trump would say, yeah, it's a very good book. It's a very good book.
There's a lot of begatting with a lot of underage children in that too. But
Of course, there's evil that lurks everywhere.
Can I just push back a sec on this notion that children who are raised to be religious are not questioning whatever. So, for instance, I went to a Jesuit school. It's
here we go.
Jesuits exist within Catholics.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Thomas Aquinas, for instance, Jesuit, also scientific, and so he made the claim, for instance, that like if science ends up sort of disagreeing with anything in Scripture, then we need to reinterpret the Scripture. Like if it doesn't make sense, it's a sign
God
that
got it wrong.
no, it needs to be reinterpreted.
Oh, well, wasn't the Scripture passed down by the Spirit in the sky?
This is I'm just saying what Thomas Aquinas said.
Okay. So he was wrong.
Well, hang on. So besides him, there was also the Occam's razor. Occam was
I know.
a Franciscan friar.
Yes.
The scientific method. I forget the guy's name, but he was also a Jesuit monk. So like this
Are you on a recruiting drive for the Jesuits?
I'm saying the Jesuits in particular are very scientific. This claim that religious people
Hold on. Again, being curious and investigating is our innate humanity. Being religious does not exclude you from being human, and therefore being a Jesuit or a Muslim or Buddhist does not take you away from being who you are as a human, right? And being curious. And therefore, I'm not saying anyone who's in there loses their ability to be intelligent and curious. They are still part of the overarching, who we are as innate. I'm saying what it does to humanity is that stops people being their full potential. So if you've got a child who, from a very young age, and yes, he was fortunate, the people you're quoting, to have lived the life that they wanted. But if you've got a child who wants to be curious, or even a young girl or anywhere who wants to be who they want to be, and then some preordained script says, no, this is the life and path you must lead by default, and you're lucky to live in this country, and you can express your sexuality who you are, right?
Yeah, agreed.
But you can't do that elsewhere because some script says how it's interpreted. No.
I would, sure, I would agree with you about the sexuality thing.
No. Again, not in a context. I'm saying the scripts say it's preordained.
Okay,
follow my principle of what I'm saying, not just the example.
Okay, sure, but overall, it sounds like we'll we'll blame religion for the bad parts, and then
No, I blame it for everything. I don't pick out any good parts. If you're saying that,
well, I'm saying some of these
because again, you're missing my point. Any good part in religion is just part of humanity, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
and any bad part which restricts me from being totally who I am
is the religion.
It's part of it's part of who they are.
Yes, but if I'm a vagabond and a person that chokes people, the only thing stopping me is basically the law. If that's my, you're saying
the common understanding of what values we have.
Allowed, yeah. But if I did it in a country where it's a misogynist, and I can say, this woman who I'm married to was unfaithful to me, and I can choke her and walk away. That's another part of the religion that's wrong. But who sets these morals? Who sets the morality here? I think religion has got a place in putting a moral code that's hopefully decent. But again, that's a judgment.
What do you think?
What is decent? Decent is a guy respectful to people, loving people. Some people will say, no, that's not decent. That's you're just a sheep, or you're just this.
Yeah.
Some people would say being decent is having drugs and orgies or whatever it is. Yeah.
I wonder then, what would you say about groups like the Family, Boko Haram? There are some religious groups where, like Australia or governments around the world, classify them as criminal organizations, terrorist organizations. Yeah.
What does like the unions are being built?
They're the unions. Do they count as well?
Well, they're a group that the law is saying they're illegal and criminal organizations.
Sure. I guess I was mainly thinking about cults. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cults. Again, if you cage people, if you put them in a cage and they can't get out of the cage, where is their freedom?
Well, I guess, it's not a physical cage. It's an emotional cage.
It's an emotional cage. They can't really escape. They're mind controlled in some of these instances. Are they criminals? That's a judgment for that's not a judgment for me. Are they criminals?
What about, Boko Haram, for instance, they make bombs, they blow people up.
Who are they?
They're real. I didn't just
I
make
know,
them
where
up.
are they? Tell me.
Indonesia, Philippines. Yeah.
So whose government said they're illegal? They're terrorists?
I'm pretty sure Australia
So-
designated them as a terrorist group.
So what? They've actually called lots of organizations terrorists, which, you and I probably would disagree with as well.
Oh, well, hang on. If you make bombs for political purposes, like, you're pretty clearly a terrorist.
Really?
Isn't that the definition of terrorism?
No, it's just who declares them as terrorists, right?
Yes.
I've heard actually.
I agree with him there, because you can turn freedom fighter or terrorist depending which media publication is putting up the story.
Well, the US created the Taliban to fight against the USSR.
Yeah.
There's countless and countless examples of what, Andrew just said there.
Oh, yeah.
See, this is the problem, that there's so many things, so many people don't know what's going on. When you say the media tells you this, there's a lot of stuff that you can't get from the media. You're an educated man, so you know things that other people don't know. Would you say that? Like when you have conversations with people at parties,
Yeah,
they
sometimes-
might even switch off.
Ouch.
Don't worry, I'm not doing that now. It's okay. It's okay. I'll find you interesting, but it's not something that you speak to some guy at a pub. They're actually going to embrace your ideas or your discussion.
Well, for many people, thinking
So
about
that's
politics is just too hard for most people.
That's why you've got to simplify things. The same with The Voice. People didn't understand what it was.
Yeah.
Well, they did. I think the opposition complicated it.
Yeah. So that's, I'll give you some background. That's how I grew up in Sunshine, and in primary school, there was Anglos, and there was a lot of people from Maltese and Cypriot and some Italians there. So I remember when the teacher first said, she's talking about Australia Day, and, it's a great day because this is when the English landed and colonised, this
Sydney,
primitive country. And half the class clapped, and half of us, including myself, were confused. We didn't understand what it was. And that was the first seedling when I thought, no, I need to sort of be in this realm, with a political realm, because, okay, half of the population is clapping and the other half is confused. So where are we going to draw the centre? What's missing?
Do you think, I find that interesting, because Owen and I have had a similar conversation about, what creates a political conscience in someone? And is it, like where they've grown up, the environment, the political culture they've come from, like, your background may be similar to mine. Like, I grew up with politics discussed all the time. It's just, part of the discourse you have. And, sometimes, I'll say this openly, Owen and I will talk about things, and I can see Owen, sometimes his view switches back to, I can say, no, that's just, you view that through your lens because it's your default, right? Where, I've grown up with a different political culture. It's just my upbringing. So how do you then infuse something that's missing through inherent understanding?
That's a very good question. When I was growing up, my parents used to import olives and olive oil back in those days.
Like Corleone from The Godfather.
Yeah, well, let's not bring those comparisons here.
sorry.
My parents were very, very straight and very, but every time politics, they didn't really say, look, don't get involved in politics. It's going to cause problems. But I had an uncle, which was my father's brother, and he was he came from Cyprus for about stated year, and he was very political. He talked about.
He got you motivated.
He was the main influence. So my parents, spot on. if he wasn't around, I don't think I would have been in this.
Yeah, my godfather was a devout Marxist, so I grew up, just hearing that, talking about, watching For Whom the Bell Tolls, about the USSR defeating the Germans when I was a kid. So it's just in my DNA.
Again, when you talked about Marxist, if you said that to one of these guys at the pub, they would say, "I love the Marx Brothers too."
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Hey, so Andrew, one of the games we like to play with our guests, I guess the only game we like to play, besides fucking them.
What?
Fucking around with it, but sorry, that came out the wrong way. You know what I mean, guests, listeners. Anyway, so you have to guess the quote. See how much we agree with the quote as well.
Okay.
Who said it?
I hope it's not the third Sparta reference.
Oh no, we haven't made too many about Sparta, but it is a philosopher this week.
Yeah.
So Andrew, do you recognise this? Peter doesn't know the answer either. Quote unquote: "Man conquers the world by conquering himself."
Oh, Carl Jung.
I know much further back.
I was going to say Sartre, but I would have to say it's either Socrates or possibly Plato.
It is around that time. Actually, it sounds a lot like Nietzsche, you might say as well. Yeah, but no, this is
Plato. I was gonna.
Or you rip it.
Because one time I didn't say Plato.
Yeah. But no, it's Zeno of Citium. Citium in Greek Cyprus.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I would be.
I would have said George Michael.
I would be slapped for that, and that's very good that you're trying to destabilize me, and you certainly have there.
Maybe I should look into who I guess before I.
Yeah, but actually, you were very close when you said Socrates. So it was
No, I said Carl Jung.
Oh, but then when you next guess, but
Carl Jung was Greek, you know that.
Oh, was he?
No.
But no. So listeners, if you're not aware, so yeah, Zeno, he started the Stoic school of philosophy, like the literal school. So yeah, on the boat from Cyprus or wherever, he was reading about Socrates. He was very impressed. Must have been very soon after Socrates died, and then he was asking around in the market about where do I find out more about this line of
long after Socrates died, his texts were just like books you'd pick up on a boat traveling from Cyprus back to Athens. It was in the sort of bargain basement of the books you pick up on the cruise line.
That sounds.
Well, probably they weren't worthy enough to be in the Library of Alexandria, so they survived.
But yeah, it's But I guess would you agree with the quote though that man conquers the world by conquering himself?
That is
the lesson of life. Know thyself. Know thyself.
That's exactly right, because a lot of people suffering through depression,
and not just that. I was going to say, well, yes, sure, but know thyself goes back to everything we've spoken about today. That if you can get off and stop breathing the oxygen and that they're telling you, and then get back to understanding self, only then can you tell your representative, whether it's the Omni or whomever, this is what I want, because I know even who I am. How do you even tell your representative, or even if you're running, what you want and until you understand who you are yourself?
That's spot on. That again, sorry for undermining you. He's maybe because he's Greek or something. No, that's correct. It's like when your wife's, say your partner or someone's yelling at you and saying things, you tend to switch off. You don't want to listen to it. But we have to listen. We have to be. So if I don't know what my position is, how can I advise anyone? How can I be a leader? I don't regard myself as a leader yet, but I also need some good people behind me, and we're on the recruiting drive. I'm not going to use your program for that, but
feel free.
Yeah,
it's not a Fusion podcast, is it?
So,
no, not officially. No.
So if people could get involved, or even put something into your program or something.
Actually, on that point, viewers, please, write comments, and we'll ask them to do subsequent guests and all that. I love reading the comments.
We'll put a reference to the Omni Party and etc. on the podcast.
But okay, it's Andrew, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Owen. Thank you very much, Peter, and thanks. And I'm glad we met that day, and I'm sorry for that nuclear argument we had at the start, and I hope you forgive me for that.
No proliferation.
Okay, all good.
Thank you very much.